Horse Guards Parade, London, the 15th of June 2025. The scarlet-coated soldiers were flawless, the brass thundered in perfect time, yet the moment that detonated across social media was a 7-year-old prince whispering to his big brother, "Should I wave?" and sparking a bout of laughter that rippled all the way up the mall. The monarchy's annual spectacle, Trooping the Colour, is choreographed down to the hoofbeat, but one small exchange between Prince Louis and Prince George proved impossible to script away. Crowds lining the route, umbrellas still dripping from an early shower, leaned forward as the Wales carriage passed, sensing something delightful was brewing behind its polished doors. A mischievous grin here, an exaggerated eyebrow there, and suddenly the heirs in waiting were running their own private comedy routine in front of tens of thousands. It was the kind of unfiltered warmth royal strategists secretly pray for, a reminder that titles may be inherited, but affection is earned in real time. Weeks of palace briefings about military precision and ceremonial heritage evaporated the instant Louis threw George a teasing hair flip, a cheeky parody of his elder's trademark toss. The future king, attempting dignity, doubled over instead, hands half covering a grin the cameras swallowed whole. In an instant a centuries-old institution felt startlingly alive. Could two laughing brothers be the crown's most potent soft power weapon? A low hum of conversation rippled along the stands. There she is, Kate. 3 months into cancer remission, the Princess of Wales had re-emerged, her ivory coat dress and sapphire brooch catching stray sunlight. Observers whispered approval at the sartorial echo. Princess Charlotte, 10, wore matching blues in a subtle nod to maternal solidarity. Catherine's smile never faltered as her sons clowned beside her. If anything, it widened, as though to say the first rule of royal parenting is letting joy run its course. Across the aisle, Prince William sat astride his charger in full Welsh Guards regalia, saluting clear-eyed and steady. Yet even the heir apparent could not eclipse the giggle storm unfolding in the carriage behind him. Household aides later confessed the king himself, riding farther back with Queen Camilla, asked for a playback the moment they reached Buckingham Palace. Does that single request hint at a monarch who understands viral currency better than his critics claim? Minutes earlier, just outside Admiralty Arch, Louis had leaned closer to George. Lip readers would replay the footage frame by frame, and tested the edges of protocol. "Should I wave?" he murmured, eyes bright. "It's up to you," George replied, an 11-year-old suddenly aware the world was listening. The resulting double-handed salute from the younger prince triggered a shout, so loud the household cavalry horses flicked their ears. Somewhere on the balcony of a nearby office, a clerk dropped paperwork and joined the cheer. For a heartbeat the velvet rope separating monarchy from public felt no thicker than a child's laugh. Within 30 minutes, TikTok spliced the whisper into EDM remixes. #Louie'S raced past 200 million views before the last band cleared Horse Guards. One ranking palace communicator admitted privately the clip had achieved organic engagement numbers we pay agencies for. Whisper it, but Generation Z just adopted a prince. If moments like these pull you in, follow our Royal Insider briefings. Fresh palace whispers land here daily. Yet this was hardly Louis's debut on the accidental headline circuit. Last June he mimed piloting a Typhoon during the RAF flypast. On VE Day he dusted invisible lint from his father's uniform, earning a gentle side-eye from William and a collective swoon online. Even his missing front teeth have become meme material, an innocent gap standing in for the monarchy's widening grin. Is the crown inching from marble pedestal to living, breathing brand ambassador? A royal historian might argue this isn't unprecedented. Queen Victoria's son Prince Leopold once tugged at his mother's mourning veil during a review in 1863, horrifying courtiers, but charming the crowd. Elizabeth II's great-grandchildren later leaned into that legacy of informality, waving from palace windows with sticky fingers. But Louis appears to refine the formula, adding a dash of 21st-century comic timing, the well-placed wink, the perfectly delayed reaction shot. Even George, the so-called steady one, now follows where his little brother leads, evidence that irreverence can flow uphill. Observers note the timing. With King Charles maintaining a punishing treatment schedule yet refusing to relinquish horseback duties, and Catherine reclaiming public life after illness, the Wales children are increasingly visible. The palace narrative is shifting, resilience paired with relatability, duty softened by play. Might the secret of the monarchy's survival be a willingness to let children set the emotional tone? Beyond the laughter, Trooping's martial pageant thundered on. 1,400 soldiers pressed boots to gravel, 200 horses tossed plumed heads, and 10 brass bands hammered out the British Grenadiers, until every postcode from Chelsea to Clerkenwell could hum along. Tourists jostled for phone angles that framed the brothers' carriage beneath fluttering regimental colours. The crisp geometry of tradition held firm even as two boys scribbled warm-hearted graffiti across its surface. Veteran guardsmen, years younger than the crown they protect, later swapped stories over post-parade pints. One admitted the sight of George clutching his sides in laughter reminded him of his own little brother back in Manchester, now glued to a phone screen. Is levity the new line of succession, handed down in memes and replay buttons rather than parchments and seals? Catherine's presence carried its own quiet resonance. When she disclosed her diagnosis in early 2024, national screening bookings soared, dubbed the Kate Effect 2.0. Her return today, posture straight against the carriage cushions, felt like a coda to that public chapter and the prologue to another. Rumor in Kensington Palace corridors hints at a late summer pediatric oncology initiative starring both boys in cameo roles. The logic is simple: if Louis makes the nation smile, he can make them listen. King Charles, meanwhile, nodded gravely through the sovereign salute, but insiders say his grin widened backstage the instant aides replayed the whisper. The monarch is said to champion the idea that, in an age of infinite news cycles, authenticity beats perfection. After all, he once joked about talking to plants. A grandson who talks back to cameras is simply evolution. The digital aftershocks were immediate. A BBC clip topped YouTube trending by dusk. Within it, microphones caught George teasing, "You're ridiculous." Already printed across souvenir mugs in Camden. One influencer asked her 4 million followers to pick their favorite Louis moment. 52% chose the hair flip parody, 37% the VE Day lint brush, and the remaining 11% voted for the next thing he hasn't done yet. Diplomats, though, felt a flicker of nerves. Palace planners are weighing whether the Wales youngsters should join an autumn visit to Canada. The upside: goodwill on a continental scale. The risk: a single raspberry in front of the Ottawa Peace Tower making global headlines. An aide summed it up dryly: with Louis, the cost-benefit analysis changes every minute, mostly in our favor, thank heaven. Night settled over London far later than the adrenaline rush did. Street vendors hawked coronation-themed ice cream long after the soldiers filed away, and somewhere near Trafalgar Square a busker strummed God Save the King before segueing into Sweet Child O' Mine. It felt apartment. Children, not marching columns, owned the story. As the last guests drifted from palace receptions, someone spotted Louis through a window giving George a final mock salute, very serious, then a wink. A guard off duty swore he heard a faint giggle echo down the marble corridor. If the future of the crown can laugh at 8 p.m., who's to say Britain won't laugh right along at 8 a.m. tomorrow? Because that is the question hovering on every headline. In a world of slick sound bites and institutional fatigue, can a tooth-gap smile keep 1,000-year-old traditions beating? Tonight, at least, the answer skitters through the capital like confetti: yes, so long as the giggles keep coming.